Uh, Hi. I might have been a little preoccupied. First things first, I have a real job now, which unfortunately means the YouTube videos are gonna come out a lot slower. Secondly, unfortunately my TISM activated and latched itself onto anime horse girl game like my life depended on it. And now I'm here making a video about it instead of doing something else. It was one of the career events with one of the base horses that you get in the game, Daiwa Scarlet, that really made me want to make this video in the first place. In the career event itself, she plays futsal, which is like essentially like a smaller version of football or soccer, with one of the other horses named Fine Motion, whose main thing is that she is Irish, a noble, and she really likes ramen. In the story itself, Fine Motion is depicted as being leagues above Daiwa in terms of her footballing ability, which got me thinking, how good is everyone else at football? And that is why I went through every Uma in global release to figure out what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, where would they play the best, and who might not make it onto the field at all. So, firstly, the reason I'm not doing JP release. That is 135 Umas. Not counting any new releases that might have come up between the day I made the spreadsheet and the day this video comes out, that is a lot. And that is a bit too much for me. So, I just did everybody in global until up until May. So that is 56.
Because God has cursed me for my hubris, and my work is never finished.
Alright, let's start off by discussing strikers. These are the players that lead the front line against the opposition and are expected to be the main goal-scoring threat. Fuji Kiseki and Winning Ticket are advanced forwards. These players are more likely to get involved in the build-up play and bring other players into the game. They're great on their own in terms of technical ability and ability to get past their defenders, but also has the ability to make something happen for others if they aren't able to make something happen for themselves. For example, Fuji is fantastic at making something happen from nothing, so she's a great player in terms of creating chances and doing fancy rainbow flicks against the defenders. Winning Ticket picks up a lot of speed in the final 200, meaning she is very quick and clutch in crowded areas, but her wild loose swings do result in a lack of composure. But we can alleviate that by having her pass the ball to someone else. She has the ability to win. How she reacts after that win is a whole different story. Poachers are strikers that like to exploit the space in between the defense. Their strategy is less about getting involved in the build-up play and more about sticking their foot in there at the right moment at the right times. Silent Suzuka is an excellent poacher because she has the innate ability to find space in between the defense. Her best moments are always going to be in those counter-attacking scenarios where a long ball from the goalkeeper goes over the head of the defenders and into open space. She thrives on open space and open field chances and absolutely loves being in said open spaces. However, this does lead to her getting flagged offsides very often, which is a weakness that she needs to work on. King Halo, on the other hand, is a completely different type of poacher. Her knack for finding space in between the defense comes from her very good acceleration in short distances. Having also ran in longer distances, she also has the stamina to keep up those sustained small breakaway sprints over the course of a 90-minute game. She may have a little problem with composure, but she's trying her best. Sometimes you just need a striker who's big, just tall, big, and able to muscle their way into any sort of situation. Hishiaka Bono and Biwa Hayahide are here because they're big, they're tall, they have big personalities, they have a massive fucking head. And if you want players that can just do it all, then you need a complete forward. They can muscle off people and be physical. They can be more technical and be able to dribble behind defenders effectively. They can score whenever they have the opportunity to do so. Kita-san Black is an interesting Uma in this lineup because while she isn't the tallest complete forward that you could ever have, she does have the physicality and strength from her more intense than average training sessions. Her title of Clutch Captain comes through for a reason because she's able to pull through when the game gets tight and somebody needs to break a deadlock. Ines Fujin is similar to Kita-san in terms of her great work ethic, with the added bonus of a little bit more height and the little bit of a downside that is her tendency to rush. However, considering the fact that she has worked every single part-time job under the sun, I would not be surprised if she had a weekend gig where she played like a little bit of amateur or semi-pro football just to round out the bills a little bit. And in the modern game of football, you have strikers that don't really act like strikers. These types of players are more involved in the build-up play and less involved in actually going forward, and more about just stretching the opposition defense by coming a lot deeper than the defense is comfortable with going. These types of strikers are false nines, 9 being the number on a usual striker jersey. And who else is better at drawing the opposition's attention away than TM? Everyone knows that she's a good goal-scoring threat, so we capitalize on that by pulling the defensive line out of shape and asking TM Opera O to come a little bit deeper into the midfield. This would also alleviate the problem of her being 5'1". She has the vision to play in this more creative role as well. In many of her story events, you see that she has a tendency to fixate on herself, yes, but she also has the ability to pick out details about her rivals that most people aren't able to notice. She also loves bringing her rivals into the spotlight to try and make a more theatrical scene out of it, meaning that she has this innate sense of teamwork. While the false 9 is more of a creative role rather than being a scoring role, the shadow striker takes that and kind of flips it around. A shadow striker starts in a more central midfield area and then surges forward when they realize the chance is about to occur. Usually these shadow strikers play behind the more big physical striker and using that big striker to create a bit of a distraction and some space for themselves inside the box. These players are a lot more score-forward types of players, with one of their biggest strengths being that they aren't recognized by the defenders as this big goal-scoring threat. Players that like to blend into the background like Meisho Doto, or players that are legitimately very small and hard to be found like Nishino Flower or Narita Taishin are excellent shadow strikers. Taishin especially is very good because of her ruthlessness in front of goal. She has the anticipation and the composure to slot away chances whenever they're presented to her. Moving on from more of our central attackers, let's talk about the players out wide, the wingers. Wide players are usually very technical, have a great breakaway speed and great sprint speed, and have the ability to really make things happen out wide. Here is our set of wingers, both left and right-sided. In terms of wingers, I'm going to talk about just a couple of types. The wingers that like to get to the end line and the byline, and the wingers that like to cut inside from the wide areas. The inverted wingers or inside forwards or whatever you want to call these players are players that like to cut in from the outside in. These players do really well at dribbling through a crowd and have that little bit of an X factor that allows them to score from these incredible shots from outside the box. Vodka has a literal skill called cut and drive, and inside forwards are usually a very big fan of cutting inside and driving at the defenders. Oguri Cap's skill procs the final 200 meters, which means she is very good at finding that breakaway speed in the final third. Just make sure you don't have any concessions visible whenever she's about to score. Air Groove has a natural knack for navigating tight spaces, as well as a really good acceleration from her abilities as a late surger. And while you can cut inside as an inside forward, a winger is more likely to go outside all the way to the byline and whip it across. Usually a good acceleration means you're a good sprinter, so Bakshin, Current-chan, milers like Dober and Gold City. These types of players are more used to doing one-on-one battles because most of the time they are playing against a wide defender. Don't worry, we'll get to Hishiamazon in a little bit.
This guy's like the phenom guy, right? He's like the LeBron James of soccer.
Yeah.
Admire Vega has the acceleration from being an end closer in the first place, but also has the ability to battle one-on-one whenever she needs to do so. Some defenders say defending her is more like battling two players rather than one. Maruzensky is a very good example of an Umamusume who likes to get past their defenders with style. A very 80s type of style. Think Maradona turn.
It could have been killed.
She's got the technical ability and the speed to do so. It's just her skills are usually effective because the defender hasn't had to see one for 40 years. And like Maruzensky, Chiono wants to follow her footsteps and instead does a Megiddo turn because she thinks it's close enough. And from wide midfield, we now move into the central midfield, starting with our attacking midfielders. These players stand a little bit further back from the front line. These players are the main chance creators, the players that really make everything happen in the offensive third. Fine Motion is this type of offensive player who likes getting involved in everything that she can in order to create things for her teammates. Just make sure you don't get on her bad side, because the spirit of Roy Keane will possess her and you will no longer have metatarsals. An interesting player that might play in this area is Agnes Digital. Her short stature and her rule about not touching other Umamusume makes her a bit of a defensive liability, so in order to combat that, we can put her up front. We know she has incredible vision because of her obsessive tendencies, but she's also fantastic at timing her passes and making sure that the best type of service is provided to her Oshis. I'm never saying that word ever again. Using a little bit more of a technical term to describe her next position here, we have a Metsala. Metsalas are essentially a half-winger, the players that play in between the wide midfielders and the central midfielders. The more you get into that midfield position, the more important stamina becomes over height or power or stature. That's why we have players like Tamamo Cross as a Metsala who's able to carry the ball up the field and connect that defensive midfield and the offensive midfield. A more of a riskier player to put into this role would be Machikane Fukukitaru. Sometimes she has incredible vision, and other times she gives the ball away in a very obvious spot. Shiraoki-sama, blessed be our game and good fortune to everyone. Now watch this drive! Just be careful when you're in a 50-50 challenge with her, because she will dive two-footed. And if she catches you instead of the ball, she will tell the referee that Shiraoki-sama said your time was up. Megiddo McQueen is a fantastic stayer that would play well in this position. Her only issue might be a lack of composure, especially if somebody starts mentioning sweets around her. Dropping a little further back to our central midfielders, these players are the engine of the team. These are the players that really go front to back, really making sure that the defense and the offense have this sort of glue that holds them together. Megiddo Bright is a great example of this glue, as she's able to slow down the pace of play, make sure everybody's relaxed, everybody's ready to go on to the next phase, just has that sort of calming presence about her. Surprisingly, a very good team captain. Mayano Top Gun is very versatile, can play a lot of different positions in a lot of different ways, and has the vision to be this incredible central midfielder. I don't know who this is. Oh, Little Spica. Okay. Special Week has that sort of hunger and drive to go after a ball for 90 minutes and has the stamina to back that up. Just, yeah, she's very generic. She's kind of clumsy. She has a tendency to be a little less intelligent with her passing and women. And finally, Rice Shower. Her marking is fantastic, as shown by her follow the leader training. Whenever she needs to be a clutch player, an X factor, or just ruin the opponent's day in some way, shape, or form, she will be able to produce a moment of magic. Her mentals aren't fantastic. She does have a tendency of self-doubt and a little bit of a composure problem. But as soon as you see that she is aura farming on the bench, you put her in there and she will produce something for you. Going further back, we got the defensive midfield. Players that are more defensive minded but still has the technical ability to play in more of a forward position. Someone who is fantastic in these defensive roles is someone who's still aggressive with their tackling, but still has the ability to pick out passes when they need to. These players need to be a bit more consistent with their passing, a lot more reliable. Robotic even. Mihono Bourbon is one of these players. She's got the ability to pick out passes and is very consistent, very precise with her tackling. But she also doesn't have that physical presence that you need from a defender. That's why you would pair her up with someone like Grass Wonder. Grass is very good at being physical, being aggressive, being able to close down passes before they even get to the final third. She's not afraid of going in for tough challenges, especially if you have pissed her off. Someone who also pairs well with Grass Wonder is Saiyan Sky, someone who also doesn't have that defensive physical presence, but also has the ability to play out from the back and occasionally join the front line when she needs to. Another way of describing her would be a segundo volante, or a second steering wheel, someone who's able to both be a defensive rock, but also participate in the attacking phase when needed. Nice Nature is also a very good defensive player, but her defending is less physical and more of an aura defense, like a certain Liverpool centre back. She's also intelligent enough to find passes under duress and really just make other players shine. Going back out wide, now we can talk about wide defenders, or wingbacks. These players have a lot more 1v1 defensive responsibilities as well as offensive responsibilities on the other side of the pitch. Especially in the modern game of football, where wide defenders are usually encouraged to go forward during long periods of possession. 1v1ing being her specialty, Hishi Amazon thrives in this wide defensive role. Daiwa Scarlet has the ability to last long periods of time with her great stamina, and her be number one attitude is very good for those situations where she is facing up against another player. El Condor Pasa has a great amount of strength, which allows her to play in a more defensive role. Because of her background and her ability to have this amazing breakaway speed, she would be better played as a wide player rather than a ball-playing defender. Satano Diamond is also put into this position, mostly because of her strong work ethic, her great stamina, and her strong sense of determination, especially when it comes to beating her rival. Going all the way back into defense, now let's talk about our center backs. To start off, Somali Rudolph is blurring the lines between what a defensive midfielder and a center back should be. She's very good at carrying out her defensive duties, but because of her great acceleration and her skill proc of Emperor's Divine Might, if she is given a chance, she will in fact sprint up the entire length of the pitch, break several ankles in the process, and slam a piss missile into the top right corner like it's her fucking job. In terms of actual traditional center backs, we have a variety that we can choose from. Kawakami Princess, while she is on the shorter end of our defenders, has great physical strength. She's got great heading ability. I mean, just look at her ult animation. Her form is perfect. Look at how the neck muscles are tensing right there. Perfect. The only problem is that she is a little bit clumsy. A bit too clumsy. Gives away a penalty too clumsy. But you know, as long as she stays on her feet and doesn't dive into a reckless challenge, she should be okay. Magic Orion is another defensive player who's got that physical ability. I mean, her ult animation is her literally doing dumbbell curls. She also has the intelligence to keep the defense organized, make sure that everyone knows where they're supposed to go, and also has the physical ability to win challenges. Again, she has a composure issue if someone mentions her favorite romance manga, but as long as we don't have that happen, we should be okay. Someone who's actually versed in a physical fighting style is Yaino Muteki. In terms of physical ability, that means that Yaino would have an advantage against other players. In terms of mental ability and concentration, you have Aishin Flash. If Ryan's a great organizer, Aishin Flash is an even better one. And her ability to time everything to perfection means that she is less likely to give away silly fouls or penalties inside the box. I'm forgetting someone. Super Creek. Creek has the height and the physical bulk to win a lot of challenges. You could also boost her physical ability by telling her that you will play Goo Goo Babies with her after you win. Finally, we get to our goalkeepers. I love these guys. They're all somehow, some way, a little bit crazy. First off, not a very obvious pick, Machikade Tannhäuser. Just watch this clip. A more obvious pick of a goalkeeper would be someone like Narita Bryant. She's got a menacing aura, she's got the bloodthirst to literally run people over if needed be. If she calls for a ball, do not jump for it, otherwise you will be punched in the side of your head and she will get sent off for a second yellow. Just a very aggressive threat all around. And of course, we can't have a goalkeeper without an eccentric goalkeeper. Golshi. Just let her do her thing. She'll figure it out. And that is all of our outfield positions. That does unfortunately mean that some players will not be able to take the field, for obvious reasons. However, while they might not be able to participate in an actual playing role, they can still participate in a managerial role. Agnes Tachyon has a career-ending injury problem. However, because of her incredible intelligence and a lot of performance-enhancing drugs that is definitely not allowed by the UFA, she's also an incredible, kind of special one type of manager like Jose Mourinho.
I am
Agnes Tachyonだ.
Unfortunately, dirt-only racers have a little bit of a problem trying to navigate a turf surface like most football pitches are. That is why, unfortunately, Haru Urara will not be taking the field. However, she will be an incredible manager, in the way that Carlo Ancelotti is an incredible manager, with the power of friendship and a lot of money. Manhattan Cafe, unfortunately, cannot participate in the field as well, mostly due to the fact that Sunday Silence is incorporeal, or is like... The rules on Sunday Silence don't really make a lot of sense. All I know is that she sees visions and has an invisible assistant manager. She's a bright up-and-coming manager like Cesc Fabregas or someone like Johan Cruyff. Majuro Arden, with her glass legs, will definitely not be passed by any of her medical staff or any of the team's medical staff to play footy. However, she would be a fantastic manager that really gets involved in the medical side of things. Make sure every player is feeling 100% before they go out onto the field. She's also probably the type of manager to play a bit more conservatively, like Gareth Southgate, but hopefully with a lot more flair than Gareth Southgate. Smart Falcon could probably play, but she prefers being on the sidelines and cheering her team on. She's got that great charisma like Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, and probably has a managerial style close to that. Tokai Teo is extremely injury prone, as 3 fractures is not something that you want on a football field. She also has a tendency to hate the medical staff on both teams, so somewhat opposite to Majuro Arden. And Tokai Teo, being such an avid gamer herself, would definitely use a systems-based tactic like Mikel Arteta or someone like Xavi Alonso. Taiki got banned because she had a gun, but she probably manages like Ted Lasso. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. How do people do outros? I haven't done outros for the last 3 videos.